Now I'm going to take notes and show you an example of how to take notes. So we're going to read right here. Watch how I watch the video and pause to take notes. You should be taking notes that help you learn. First, play the video, listen to what the speaker says, and write what he writes, and write some things that he says. So I'm going to play the video, I'm going to take notes myself, and this is how you should be taking notes when you're watching the videos and taking notes.
Hi, welcome to Math Antics.
So I started with the title, could have gotten that from the title of the video, but also displayed on the screen. So we're going to start with the title.
Antics. Now that you know all about fractions from watching all of our fractions videos, it's time to learn about something called percentages. Percentages are super important. Have you ever been in a math class and heard another student ask the teacher, excuse me, teacher, when are we ever gonna use this stuff? You know, like in real life? Well, when it comes to percentages, the answer is 100% of the time. Well, all right, maybe not 100% of the time, but a lot. Percentages are used every day to calculate things like, well, how much sales tax you pay when you buy something, how much something costs when it's on sale, how much fiber is in your granola bar, or how much money you can make if you invested in the stock market. That's all real life stuff for sure. So you can see that it's really important to understand percentages and how we use them in math. All right then, are you ready to learn the key to understanding percentages, or percents as they're called for short? Drum roll please. A percent is a fraction. What? That's right, a percent is a fraction. And since you already know all about fractions, learning about percents is gonna be easy. But a percent isn't just any old fraction. A percent is a special fraction that always has 100 as the bottom number. If it's a percent, then no matter what the top number is, the bottom number will be 100. In fact, because the bottom number of a percent is always 100, we don't even write it. Instead, we use this handy little symbol called a percent sign. Whenever you see this symbol after a number, it means the number is a percent. It's really a fraction with 100 on the bottom, but it's just being written in this more compact form.
All right.
Like this with.
So far what I wrote is percent calculation examples. He said some things that were used in the real world, so I wrote those down: sales tax, sale price, fiber, and a granola bar. And what a percent is a fraction. So I might actually take this and underline it, because that's what a percent is. And then percents always have 100 as the bottom number. Then he went on to explain percents are a number followed by a percent sign, or a number as a fraction
with 100 on the bottom. But
so I'm going to write two ways we write percents. And then I'm going to write those two ways. So the first way is a number percent, oops, or, and this is a percent, or a fraction, which is number over 100. Okay, back to the video.
But it's just being written in this more compact form. Like this number 15 here. It's got the percent sign after it, so we read it as 15%. And because a percent is really a fraction that always has 100 as the bottom number, we know that it means the same thing as 15 over 100. Percents make even more sense.
a good example. So he said 15%
If you use the same thing as 15 over 100.
is the same thing as 15 over 100. So this is a good example to continue with. We say 15% equals 15 over 100.
Percents make
See, we are only 2 minutes in, and this is the total of my writing. So it's nothing crazy, but we need to be writing the main concepts of what he says, writing the examples, writing down things that'll help us along the way. So if I ask you, what are 2 ways we write percents? You should be able to tell me these 2 ways. And if you're able to use your notes, then you should be able to go back to your notes, skim through them, and see 2 ways we write percents right there in the middle of your notes, and you should be able to pick one of those 2 ways and be able to write them. If I ask what is a percent, you should be able to get to your notes really quickly and see a percent is a fraction. Percents always have 100 as the bottom number. So you should be able to regurgitate this information, to be able to produce this. If I ask you these questions, and one way you'll know that is knowledge, and another way you know it is by taking good notes. You take good notes, you'll be able to quickly be able to track through information and tell me what you
even
learned.
more sense
So let's
if you
continue
know what the
for one more minute, and then I think you guys will get the idea.
word percent means. The prefix of the word per means for each or for every. You know, like if someone said only 1 cookie per person, and the root word cent is Latin for 100. That's why there's 100 cents in a dollar. So percent literally means per 100. And that's why they're shortcuts for writing fractions that have 100 as the bottom number. All right then. So whenever you see a percent like this, you know it can be replaced with or converted to a fraction. Let's look at a few examples so you see the pattern. 3% means 3 over 100. 10% means 10 over 100. 25% means 25 over 100. And 75% means 75 over 100. These are percents, and these are the fractions that they stand for. There's a few other interesting percents that we should take a look at, like this one, 0%. Can you have 0%? Yes, 0% would just mean 0 over 100. It's what we like to call a zero fraction, because its value is just 0. Remember, it's okay to have 0 on the top of a fraction, but not the bottom.
Okay, then we take a note at what he just said. Zero fraction is 0 over 100. And then he said It's okay to have 0 at the top of the fraction, but not at the bottom.
All right then. What about 100%? Well, 100% just means 100 over 100. That's what we like to call a whole fraction. The top number is the same as the bottom, so its value is just one whole, or 1. Okay then, 0.
And this is a 0 fraction, and what he just said, %100 is 100 over 100, which is 1. And this is, I'm not going to be able to type there. Okay. This is a whole fraction. Hey, so let's take a look. We are 3 minutes into the video. We are about 11-12 minutes into my notes. How to take these notes. So let's start at the top. I wrote the title, what are percentages, wrote down a couple examples he gave of real world examples, wrote down the definition of a percent, not a definition of percent, but his brief definition, just telling us what a percent is. A percent is a fraction, and a percent always has 100 at the bottom as the bottom number in the denominator. 2 ways we write percents. One, we write it as a number followed by a percent sign, or we can write it as a fraction. We can also write it as a decimal, but he didn't introduce that yet. That's in another video. But the way we write percents, starting with this video, is either number percent or number over 100. Then we see an example, 15% is equal to 15 over 100, following right after the 2 ways we know how to write it. Per means for every or for each. Cent means 100. So percent means per 100, or the number, the part, over 100, per 100. A few examples. 3% is 3 over 100, 10% is 10 over 100, 25% is 25 over 100, and 75% is 75 over 100. The 0 fraction is 0%, which is 0 over 100, and we made a note, it's okay to have 0 at the top of the fraction, but not at the bottom. We can't divide by 0, so 0 cannot be at the bottom of the fraction. But we can have 0 at the top, and that would be our 0 fraction, or 0%. And the last thing, 100% is equal to 100 over 100 equals 1, and that is a whole fraction.